Hi, Alice Wheaton here again. Thank you for joining me. We're going to talk today about where are you spending your time and energy? Because really what you want to do is spend your time and energy where the consequences will be high and the probability will be high. Let me give you an example that brought this home to me a few months ago. I'm from northern Newfoundland, and for years when I was growing up, few people had vehicles. So the natural way to get transportation from one town to the other was to hitchhike. And here I am living in Western Canada in Calgary, and so I have a tendency to pick up hitchhikers. I've never had a problem. And so what I found out though is, my partner kept telling me, please don't pick up hitchhikers, and I still did because it was part of my core values. Until one day he said to me, okay, I get it that the probability is really low, but the consequences are really high. And so the cost-benefit ratio then obviously was not that important. I'll just give you an example. My dog did a split-second cost-benefit rate analysis. There was some leftover pizza from last night. I pulled the cheese off and I pulled the meat off because he has allergies. And I handed him the pizza slice, the doughy part. And he took it in his mouth and he chewed it. And then I just handed him a small piece of pepperoni. In a split second, he'd done a cost-benefit analysis and spit the crust out and immediately ate the little piece of pepperoni. So you see, that's nature. Nature is made us to that we want to do that which will serve us in the long run. But nature made a mistake because the cost-benefit ratio of being willing to prospect is very, very high. But what we see as consequences, the negative consequences, don't make sense logically, but they do emotionally. Let me show you something here. So if someone decides to have a prospecting campaign and they call 20 people, the probability of getting an appointment is very high. So this would be an appointment. 20 calls, 5 appointments. Probability is very high. But look at this. The consequences, the dollar consequences would also be very high. And that's the kind of activity that we want to partake in. Now then, the emotional consequences, I'm just going to use a heart there, or I could use this sign here. The emotional consequences are very high as well, but they are high for not doing it, and they're high for doing it. So they're high for not making the call because we're embarrassed, we're not meeting our standards, we're not living up to our own expectations or our bosses, we're seeing people do well and pass us. So the emotional consequences are very high for that. But those are the negative consequences. And the positive consequences is that we actually become very good at what we do, and we actually end up being profoundly successful and not embarrassed, not having to justify and defend how busy we are with seeding, with harvesting and so on. Because when it comes to making a call, it only takes less than 2.5 minutes is the approximate average length of time I've noticed that it takes to make a call from the beginning to the end. Now, when you're making the prospecting call, your job is just to sell the appointment, not to talk about the technology. You talk about the output of the technology, what it would do for the farmer, but we don't describe it and explain it. And so the idea is that you engage in activities that have got a high probability of success, and the consequences are very high as well. Now, I'm not a statistician, I'm not an actuary, I'm not an accountant, but I know that when I engage in activity that's got a very high probability of success, and the consequences of that success are also high, that's worth doing again and again and again. I want to thank you for being with me, and until next time, sell well and sell lots. Bye for now.